You're listening to KSG podcast. This is a short, crisp, concise, exam-oriented, edited editorial for civil services aspirants. In this podcast, we are going to talk about SC verdict on cooperatives. Source for the content is Sanjeev Mukherjee's article for the Indian Express. A day after the Supreme Court struck down parts of the 97th Amendment to the Constitution that sought to crimp powers of the state governments over their cooperative societies, the National Cooperative Union of India expressed unhappiness over the judgment and hoped that the new cooperative ministry will find a way out of the same. It also wanted formulation of a national policy on cooperatives, which will ensure that there is uniformity in cooperative acts across the states so that there is transparency in them, which in turn strengthens the cooperative movement. NCUI is an apex organization of the cooperative movement. The Supreme Court, in a landmark judgment on the 20th of July 2021, upheld a 2013 Gujarat High Court verdict that had struck down certain portions of the 97th Constitutional Amendment passed by the Parliament. The amendment was passed by Parliament in December 2011 and had come into effect from 15th of February 2012. The amendments, apart from making right to form cooperatives a fundamental right, had also laid several guidelines for the state legislations governing the cooperative societies. These, according to some experts, included mandatory registration of cooperatives, minimum qualification of the board members of a cooperative, their tenure, also the time frame for which a state government can take over the governance of a coop society. A bunch of petitions were filed in the Gujarat High Court challenging the amendment on the grounds that it violated the basic structure of the constitution. The main argument of the petitioners was that the amendment required ratification by at least one half of the state, since it impacted a subject in the state. The Gujarat High Court accepted the argument of the petitioners to strike down the entire portion of that part of the amendment, which laid down directions for state legislations for cooperatives. The Supreme Court, in its judgment, while upholding the Gujarat High Court order, had saved the application of the amendments for multi-state cooperative societies, which come under the jurisdiction of the central government. The apex court judgment that upheld the supremacy of state governments in governing the cooperative societies that fall within their jurisdiction could have far-reaching ramifications in light of fears being expressed in some quarters over the new cooperative ministry interfering in their domain. The All India Kisan Sabha has criticized the formation of the new cooperatives ministry on the ground that it is moving towards centralization and an imminent threat to Indian federalism and for the future of cooperative movement in the country. The Supreme Court judgment, some experts said, clearly lays down the jurisdiction of the new cooperatives ministry and clips its role over the state coups. Meanwhile, former NCUI President G.H. Amin suggested that the present government should again initiate the process for constitutional amendment based on legal provisions. The National Federation of State Cooperative Banks Managing Director B. Subramaniam said that prior to the SC verdict, a number of state governments have already amended their state legislatures incorporating these amendments based on the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act 2011. That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. To join KSG India courses and to crack the ICE exam, visit ksgindia.com. You can also get a PDF of this podcast on ksgindia.com. Thanks for listening.